Villainous by It's Kingston on AO3. Episode 5. Chapter 5. Stalker. With 5 minutes until lunch started, Ochako left the bathroom after she calmed down. No longer crying, she began making her way to the cafeteria door. She silently practiced her excuse to anyone who asked where she was for the past few hours. For obvious reasons, she couldn't say, "I was being briefed for a secret infiltration mission." As Ochako walked through the double doors leading to the cafeteria, she was surprised to see Sue standing there. Keeping her excuse in mind, Ochako smiled warmly and greeted her worrying friend. "Hey, Sue." "Oh, there you are. You missed 2 classes, Ochako. You said you'd only be gone for a few minutes." Sue said quietly. Her brows were furrowed in confusion as she scanned her friend's face. "Sorry, I told them about my suit, and that only took 10 minutes, but then I got roped in trying to help out tech and modeling suits for the whole department," Ochako said, rubbing the back of her neck. "I didn't mean to worry you." She sighed, meeting her friend's eyes sadly. This part was 100% the truth. She didn't like making people worry about her, especially not people she was close to. Sue sighed, though it was hard to tell if it was out of relief or something else entirely. "I just don't want to upset anyone. I know how to say no. I've always told you when I didn't feel like going out somewhere," Ochako reasoned. Okay, maybe she had slightly overcommitted problems, but it wasn't anything she couldn't handle. "You just missed 2 classes to help out an entire mechanics and suit department." Sue almost laughed at the situation. She was glad her friend was so helpful and caring, but at the same time, it's sort of a character flaw. Ochako cared too much at times, like today, and tried to make everyone happy when she needed to focus on herself. "Okay, fine. I have a little problem with helping everybody, but that doesn't matter. I'm hungry right now," the gravity hero exclaimed, turning to walk towards the lunch line that awaited her. She wasn't hungrier than usual. If anything, the briefing ruined her appetite. She just wanted to leave the conversation behind. Because, okay, maybe the entire reason she was losing sleep for the foreseeable future and lying to everyone about practically everything was because she couldn't just say no when a group of pro heroes told her she was perfect for a mission. That wasn't relevant, though. Sue sat down beside her, watching curiously as her friend scarfed down her meal and stood up. "I'm gonna go train while everyone else finished lunch. I think I need to make up for some lost time," Ochako said to Sue, before running off. This wasn't entirely strange for Ochako. She was always trying her hardest in class and putting in the extra work. Sue knew she would be a great hero one day, if she could finally find a way to overcome her blindingly obvious feelings for a certain green-haired boy, and maybe getting rid of her inability to decline requests while she was at it. Sue thought about following the gravity hero and helping her train, but knew Ochako didn't like being interrupted once she got into the rhythm of something. So the frog-like girl moved her meal to the next table over and talked with her other friends as the small group ate their lunches. It was 12:15 when Ochako finished her lunch and left the cafeteria. She didn't have an exact destination, and what she was doing wasn't exactly training, so she was glad when she didn't see her friend following after her. She eventually found a secluded spot behind the school, right beside one of the hardly used back exits. Ochako sat down in the grass with her back to the wall and pulled out her phone. She wanted to be ready when she went searching later, so she decided to plan a route in advance. She had attempted to plan one the previous night, but was stopped by the mysterious pairs of eyes that followed her. Whoever was watching her was good. They knew what they were doing. Ochako had hardly seen them, hardly being a loose term, as she had only seen their shadow for a second before it disappeared again. She didn't put much thought into who they were, or why they were watching her. Something that definitely needed to change. The gravity hero shook her head lightly. She worried about that if they continued to follow her tonight. Right now, she needed to plan out her exploration. While looking at her savior, Google Maps, Ochako zoomed in on UA and began to scan the following areas for anywhere the league could be. Nothing specifically said that they had to be in the run-down, cruddy building that was falling apart and had no running water. For all the pros know, they could have a 5-star hotel all to themselves. It was hard to tell what the League was capable of sometimes. After mentally marking several promising locations where the League could be, Ochako began her next task. She wasn't just looking for the League of Villains. It might be a lot easier to find them if she was able to find someone willing to give them up. She was almost 100% sure that UA would give a petty thief witness protections for turning in the entire League. She wasn't quite sure where to start looking for people, so Ochako decided to go back to the location she originally found someone. Sure, the old guy wasn't willing to talk, but maybe someone else was. She'll find out tonight. I think I'm gonna go to bed early. I didn't sleep well last night, Ochako said from her spot around the table. It was currently 7:20 p.m., and Class 1A was collectively eating dinner in the dormitory main kitchen. Ochako sat beside Mina, and across the table from Sue and Deku. The other students were in different groups around the room, laughing and eating together. Really? We're gonna stay up late tonight, Mina said, smiling brightly. While there was no official plans to do anything other than eat dinner together, Mina had a way of sneaking in ideas into the group. Well, this wasn't really sneaking. You mean you were going to stay up late tonight? Sue corrected, matching Mina's smile. We have class tomorrow, but on the weekends we could. Deku chimed in, looking around for confirmation. Sounds good. Ochako forced a smile. She'll have to tell them something came up later. Her weekends needed to be clear for searching, researching, or sleep. Okay, fine, Mina huffed before turning and giving Ochako a side hug. Sleep well. Thanks, good night. Ochako walked quietly through the park she discovered last night. She had her bag over her shoulder, and phone in one hand, as she followed the relatively straight path through the park. The strange person following her wasn't there. Either that, or they'd gotten a lot better. Ochako wasn't sure whether she felt unnerved or relieved by the disappearance of her stalker. She tucked her phone into her pocket and readjusted the drawing bag straps and picked up the pace to her demonstration. It wasn't ridiculously far from the park, just a 20-minute walk that made Ochako really wish for a car. The area was well maintained for a back alley, despite being an unfinished construction area. It had been permanently closed 2 years ago, when there was a major accident that resulted in the death of a worker. After several claims that it wasn't an accident, nobody wanted to continue working there, no matter how high the paycheck the boss offered was. The concrete had only been laid as a foundation for the houses, and buildings planned to be here, so the street Ochako walked was one of dirt. She made it 3 steps into the alley before she felt eyes on her. They weren't malicious per se, more protective and cautious, maybe even judgmental. Definitely not the same person from last night, Ochako thought as she turned to the doorway on her left. Someone stood a few feet back from the doorframe, arms crossed sedatically, eyes fixed on the girl who stood before them. They took a few steps forward into the moonlight, the lack of street lamps in the unfinished area making it hard to see. Who are you? What do you want? Their voice was a raspy whisper, but Ochako could still hear the anger. I just need information, she said nonchalantly, hoping for a reaction. The person paused, looking forward to stand in the doorway. What do you have to give? Ochako smiled lightly. She might finally be getting somewhere. After pulling out the wallet, Ochako looked back up at the person in front of her. Depends on what you have to say. What do you want to know? The raspy whisper came back, but almost all anger had vanished at the sight of cash. Anything you could tell me about where the League of Villains is, or where they're going next? Ochako said, flipping through the wallet to hopefully entice the person into talking. A long pause, like they were weighing their options. No can do. The League bought off every single person in this area, from the street rats to thugs and criminals. My guess is they did that everywhere they could get. What do they give you? I might be able to top it, Ochako said confidently. There probably wasn't a chance for her to outplay the League. They probably got the cash from one of the banks. Wait, that must be why they were robbing banks lately, Ochako thought, mentally noting to look into that later. The person laughed, not loudly, but dry and lacking humor. They met Ochako's eyes, their face caught somewhere between a sad smile and a frown. They told me they let me live, right up until I sold them out. Ochako was at a loss for words as she watched the person turn around and limp back inside their makeshift house. She did the same, making sure to watch over her shoulder as she left the alley. If what the person said was true, then the League was more cutthroat than Ochako thought. No pun intended. Nothing of note happened as the Gravity Hero walked back to the park, leaving her alone with her thoughts. The only person that kept her company hadn't shown up. Maybe Ochako had imagined it all. Sleep deprivation causes hallucinations. But she wasn't quite sure they'd set in after 3 hours of being tired. Checking her phone as she entered the park again, Ochako was surprised to find that it was 9 p.m. She already spent an hour and a half here, just walking around. She sat down on a bench and closed her eyes for a moment, thinking. She wasn't sure what to do now. Was it worth checking the other locations? How much reach did the League have? If she went far enough, could she find someone willing to talk? Someone they hadn't threatened yet? Ochako sighed and pulled out her phone, opening the map. Could she really find someone the League hadn't gotten to yet? It was starting to seem impossible. Ochako scrolled through the map, her focus completely on the device in front of her. She was determined to see any sort of way around this, until her focus was broken by an instant, a gut feeling that told her something wasn't right. She had been training thoroughly in close combat and gunhead martial arts, and knew this feeling. Someone was close to her, not yards away or on the other side of the park. No, someone was close enough to reach out and take the phone from her hands if they wanted to. Ochako didn't stop her aimless scrolling, kept up the image of being calm and distracted as she focused on her new issue. How long had they been there? They got so close without being noticed. Was it a pro hero or a villain? A hero will announce themselves before getting too close, right? So it had to be a villain. Ochako kept her breathing leveled as she narrowed it down. They weren't in front of her, and they weren't in her peripheral vision. The villain was behind her. Why? If they wanted to attack her, they would have done it already. Were they trying to be peaceful? But being peaceful doesn't mean sneaking up behind someone. The villain was watching her, seeing what she was up to. That's the conclusion Ochako came up to. Gathering up her courage and taking a breath, Ochako quickly moved. She got up, spun around, and tried to attack. A punch aimed towards the villain. She didn't have time to observe. Oh, you did see me. A light chuckle came from the villain who dodged her punch. You're not too bad, little hero. With that, Ochako's world tilted, literally. 1 minute she was standing up, ready to fight. The next she was face down on the ground, with her arms behind her back. But if you're trying to hit me, we can't talk. Okay, interesting. Next chapter is chapter 6, meetings. So that's gonna be interesting. Okay. So clearly, it was Toga. I knew. Okay, I glad that I did end up guessing correctly that it was Toga who was the stalker, or at least I hope it is. It's very heavily implied, unless it's not. Hold on, please tell me it is. That would be very awkward if it wasn't. I really hope it is. But oh my god. I'm recording this the day that it airs and it goes out. Hi, hello, thank you, all of you, for giving it so much love. So far, it's not like, you know, it's been a couple hours since it's out, so it's not gonna be like exploded or anything, but I do love that it's getting a lot of appreciation, a lot of comments, and a lot of love for you guys. So I appreciate that a lot. It's, oh my god, it's getting more than the other ones. Okay, but I'm happy that it's getting love and appreciation that it deserves and that it needs. Because it deserves it. It needs it. It is, get a shareable link. It is such a, it's so good so far. I really love it and enjoy it. And thank you so much to Kingston. Thank you for allowing me to, what's it called? You know, do all this, you know? It's just amazing. You know, sorry, I'm typing to the author and I'm sending them the link to the fic. But I can't, I love it so much. I'm loving everything so much. I'm so excited for this fic. It is so good, it is so great, it's amazing, and I'm so excited. Okay, as always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.